What up, guys? Been a minute since I made a video for my channel here, and I've been doing slowly doing the Maniac Cop series, and I'm finally done. I ended up watching Maniac Cop 3 last night, Badge of Silence, and oddly enough, I had actually never seen this one before watching it, and kind of had high expectations because I like Maniac Cop, and I really enjoy Maniac Cop 2, so I kind of had high hopes for this, but I had heard that Maniac Cop 2 is the best, so I went in there kind of checking myself, like, hey, it's probably not going to be good. There's a reason, there's no fourth Maniac Cop. But basically, this opens with this guy. He's like a voodoo priest type thing. You hear him praying, and then your Matt Cordell comes back to life. That's what the voodoo curse was, brings him back, and basically there's that, and then you see him kind of prowling in the darkness, twirling his little billy club and the blade and all that. But he doesn't really do a whole lot of killing in like the first part of this, because then we switch to Jackie Earle Haley, who played the Freddy in the remake and Rorschach and Watchmen. So it was actually cool seeing him younger in this, but he plays this robber, like a drug addict who breaks into this pharmacy and holds this chick hostage and wants all the Valium and stuff. And this cop Katie arrives on the scene and busts in and goes to shoot him, and then it's realized something was shady in the background and all this, and the female cop was set up and all that, and that's how that goes. So the cop was shot, and then she's in a coma and she can't defend herself or explain what happened. And the way everything was set up, it seems like she shot them out of like police brutality and all that. So she's getting set up, kind of like Matt Cordell did. And basically, Robert Davi's back in this, and he's trying to clear her name because it's his partner was like a little sister to her, and whatever. So there's that whole thing going on, and then you're following around the Maniac Cop, and he's not really doing much killing at all. He's just walking. And he's like walking through tunnels and walking through whatever. And he ends up meeting with the voodoo priest, and the voodoo priest gets some boring explanation of how, oh, his soul was never at rest, blah blah blah. And then it's Robert Davi ends up getting a thing for the hospital lady. And that this movie is, I just gotta say, this movie's a mess, man. It's boring. It's there's very lackluster kills. Not The kills are not memorable at all. I'm sitting here. I just watched this last night, and I honestly can't even remember a kill in this. Like, I remember kills in Maniac Cop 2, 1, but this one really forgettable. I remember one scene there's like a chicken stuffed in a chick's neck, which was kind of cool, but I don't know. But anyways, Robert Davi and this hospital chick end up going to this lair where the voodoo priest is, and Maniac Cop and his partner, who was set up for the crimes, is laying on a table in the voodoo thing, and you realize later on that Maniac Cop is trying to resurrect this chick or whatever. So, like, you don't even know why really, but I guess the voodoo priest thing, he does it, and he says to Maniac Cop, "Oh, I can't do it. Her soul's at rest." Blah blah blah, and he ends up shooting the voodoo guy, and then the Maniac Cop ends up picking up the cop chick, and they get set on flames, and they're following them, and then Robert Davi and the chick escape, but which leads to the ending thing where it's like a 8-minute car chase or whatever, but it's really entertaining. Like they're on fire the whole time, Maniac Cop, and he's driving, following Robert Davi and the hospital chick, and he's like holding onto the car in flames and all this stuff, and it's really cool. And the lasting scene, I don't want to give it away, but basically, put it this way, this movie could have been called Maniac Cop 3 Bride of Maniac Cop. I mean, it had that kind of thing to it. And if you've seen it, I'm sure you could agree with that statement, that easily could have been the tagline to this. And I don't like movies with that kind of tagline. I don't, that's when it gets cheesy to me, is when you start having wives to the killers and blah, blah, blah. They basically turned Matt Cordell into like Michael Myers from Part 6, where how Michael Myers was in a cult for Thorn and all that. He was basically a puppet being used and manipulated by the cult, and you lose respect for him. Well, that's basically what happened to Matt Cordell kind of hinted at it in part two, but three is where it's like hardcore. And yeah, just not that good. But one thing I do got to point out too, that Robert Forster from like Jackie Brown and the new Twin Peaks, he's in this for probably 3 minutes, really randomly, and his kill was actually probably the best one out of all of them. But yeah, that's about it with this. I mean, I do want to mention though that the transfer to this was beautiful. I mean, there was some thick grain in the night parts, but the day parts especially. But where it really wowed me was the last 8 minutes during that car chase. Like the flames, everything looked really crystal clear. So I was really happy with the transfer. Like I said, on the other Maniac Cop 2 release, comes with a slipcover too. So I love how Blue Underground does that. You know, this movie's been out since 2013. That's 4 years, and they're still putting embossed slipcovers on all their releases. You know, it ain't like Scream Factory where they say, you know, we can guarantee slipcovers for 3 months, blah blah blah. You know, I kind of like slipcovers; they look cool. You know, so I like the fact that Blue Underground doesn't skimp on it, and they keep it hooked up. You know, special features are plentiful on this thing. You got the third part of the making of, which are like I really enjoy those aspects of it because you have William Lustig and all those people talking about him, and also only one in the franchise not directed by William Lustig. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked to be done with them though. Pretty much. One thing I gotta say too, like a last thought about the series is, I guess Nicholas Winding Refn was the dude from the Neon Demon, and I think he did Drive and stuff. I heard he was gonna do a remake of Maniac Cop, and it got canceled for some reason. I wish they'd still do it though, and I think he'd be a good person for it because I know he's like a real stylistic director, and he does a lot of like flourishes like that. But he has a whole lot of respect for Maniac Cop. Like he actually has a whole feature length commentary on Maniac Cop too. So if you listen to that, you'd be more swayed on too. So definitely, I wish they would have kept that whole idea going. But who knows, it may. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna be at you guys next with the Cube franchise. So peace.